This is an overview or guide for the game Walki. It's a turn-based strategy game similar to, for instance, Scorched Tanks. It's in Polish, but it doesn't feature much story or reading, so hopefully this overview will help you play it even if you don't speak Polish. This is the main menu. This is where you select a terrain type or map. Góry is mountains, Bagna is marshes, Lodowiec is glacier, and Vulcania is the volcano map. These are the slots for the players. This symbol stands for human player. These are the available computer opponents, and leaving it like this, of course, means that there's not going to be an opponent in that slot. So I'm going to go as player 1, and I'm going to have a couple computer opponents, and I'm going to start.
Welcome, Battle Masters.
This is the map. You can scroll it by clicking and dragging with the right mouse button. This is the heads-up display with the current player's name, the name of the current selected unit. This is the armor or hit points of the selected unit and its status. You use this icon to move the given unit. Of course, in this case the base cannot move. This symbol, this icon is for shooting. This icon is for digging if your current selected unit is a tank. The bases cannot dig. This is the repair icon. These select to and fro between units. This icon is for buying. It accesses the buying menu. And this icon is for skipping your turn, for ending your turn. So I'm going to go to the shop now, and I'm going to buy a tank. This is the selection of tanks that you can buy. Scout, weak, decently fast. Warrior, the kind of middle of the road tank. Hunter, which is a bit of a glass cannon. Scorpion, a bit pricey, not really worth it in my view. Titan, a tank with a bog roll strapped to it that has lots of armor and allows for carrying a lot of missiles. And Dragon, the tank that has the advantages of all the previous tanks, but is significantly expensive. As you can see here, this is the price of the tank. These are the hit points of the tank that you are about to buy. So I'm going to buy 2 warriors right now, and I'm buying 2 tanks if only to allow myself to shoot twice or 3 times, including the base, during my turn. Okay, and so I go to my tank right now and access this menu, and currently there are no projectiles loaded onto the tank or available at the base. So with the tank selected, I'm going to go over here, click this icon, and I'm going to buy some missiles. So these big ones, which are pretty much the bread and butter of this game, and maybe a few napalm missiles, and I suppose I can go real quick over the rest of the arsenal here. So Gleba is similar to the dirt weapons from Scorched Earth and Scorched Tanks, if you remember that. So that creates a an artificial heal wherever this projectile hits. And the way this game is programmed, if you hit an area immediately surrounding your tank, it is possible for you to repair your tank actually with this projectile. I suppose this has to do with inflicting negative damage, possibly, but I haven't looked into the programming in this game, so I don't know. Normal is a weak projectile with a small blast radius. Hellfire is the first guided missile on the list, and I'll go over guided missiles in a little bit. And this Hellfire one is a small one. Napalm is a bit of a scatter shot. Nuke is of course a nuclear missile with a large blast radius and high damage output. Airstrike isn't a projectile that you fire. As the name suggests, it calls for a number of airplanes that will drop bombs over a large area indicated by you, by the cursor. Kornik is a projectile that has a tiny blast radius but delivers a lot of damage, so it's very accurate and very damaging. I mean, it requires you to be very accurate with it, but if you're accurate, then it allows you to deliver a strong punch. Maverick is another guided missile, except this one is stronger. X-15 is still stronger, but very expensive, as you can see. And Mur is a wall that you can raise around the perimeter of your base. So this is the arsenal. And now that I've bought these weapons at the base, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to mount them on this tank by left clicking here. So I've put these on the tank, and these numbers are to do with the carrying capacity of the tank. So this first number stands for the maximum carrying capacity of the tank, and this one indicates the current available space on the tank. So I've got 20 pounds still available to put weapons on this tank, and by clicking left click around in this area is for mounting weapons on the tank, and if I right click here I can unmount the weapons from the tank and put them in the base. So right now I've got 20 pounds left, so I'm going to buy six big projectiles from the base, and then I'm going to mount them. I think this is a decent loadout for this tank, and I've still got a little bit of money left, so I'm going to go to this other tank and I'm going to do pretty much the same. So all these weapons are now mounted, and I now will move towards an enemy. So it appears there's the empty slot over here, and there are those two enemy bases. So I'm going to first move south towards this enemy, splitting my tanks somewhat so they do not get struck together. That was the enemy's move. I'm going to move a bit further, and going to this menu shows you that my money has, the amount of money I have has increased now that I have is ended my previous turn. So over time you'll get money as the enemy is shooting already. And just on this map, obviously because it's the volcano map, we're going to have such volcano eruptions represented as these explosions occurring every once in a while. Now I think I'm close enough to attack the enemy tank, so I'm going to use this icon over here to go into this firing menu, and then I'm going to press this icon to select my target.
Target in range.
And now this display here shows you the intersection of the terrain that's between you and your target. So this kind of line that flashes for a brief moment when you select your target, as you can see. And it's a good idea not to hit any terrain on your way. On the left, it's always going to be indicated red, and this red line indicates where you are. And if on this intersection line there are any enemies, then they're also going to be indicated by these red lines on the terrain. So I've selected my target. Now I'm going to increase the firing power, and I'm going to increase the angle with which I'm going to shoot. And right now my best bet is just to estimate it because I've got no point of reference. So I'll use this, and then I'm going to select the projectile that I want to use, and I'm going to fire. And that was a pretty good hit. So you can only fire once, and this is once per turn, and this is indicated here with this icon grayed out. So I'm going to go to the other tank and do a similar thing, and firing twice in my turn pretty much ensures that the enemy isn't going to be able to catch up with his attempts to repair his tank, and I should eventually be able to take it down. And I'm going to increase the angle over here to be more accurate. And I'm going to check my money. It's 2,500. So I'm going to, you can also select your units on the map by left clicking on them. I'm going now to go to the shop, and I'm going to buy a guided missile, which then I'll proceed to fire from the base. So firing a guided missile is much simpler. Simply select the projectile over here with these arrows, and you don't even have to select your target or adjust for the firing strength or angle. Just select it and press fire, and then you get this menu. You then click on one of these 4 lines to determine the initial firing direction. So I'm going to just select this, and then you're going to need your joystick. So I'm going to press fire, and I direct the missile with left and right, and by pressing up and down on the joystick I adjust for the elevation of the missile. It's a good idea to always stay at the maximum altitude, or else you run the risk of hitting a hill or a mountain. And when you're close to your enemy, then you want to press up on your joystick to make the missile dive into enemy position and hit it. So now that I am done, I'm going to right click out of this firing menu and I'm going to end my turn. The second player already has 3 tanks. Now this is interesting. A plane has just flown by, dropping this thing over there, and that's actually a resource you can pick up, and it's worth a lot of money. So I should spend every effort trying to get it, because it's really worth it. I think I'm going to buy this cheapest tank and send it on its way there. Trying to pick it up. I could move my tanks forward a bit, but then I would have to adjust my firing angle, so I'm not going to do that.
Target in range. Select target.
I could change my target a bit to show you the Napalm Missile, which is a scatter shot, and I'm going to decrease the firing angle so that I strike the area between the tank and the base. So let's see what occurs. Yes, so this scatter shot strikes a larger area, so it's a good idea to use it on clusters of enemies, obviously. And I'm going to continue my assault with this tank using big projectiles. And right click out of that firing menu. And currently I do not have enough money to buy a guided missile. And the computer has just fired a nuke in my direction. Thankfully this tank has survived it. That has taken a significant hit. That's 77 hit points out of the 350 maximum. So I'm now going to click this icon to repair it. And you have also noticed that this icon for digging is grayed out, so now I'm unable to also dig during this turn.
Target in range.
And I'm going to continue firing. Now I've eliminated this tank, so I'm going to move on assaulting the base.
Target in range.
I may actually want to advance this tank slightly.
Target in range. Select target. Target in range.
And adjust the firing angle, and I hit the base square on, which is good. And I think I've shown you most of the aspects of this game by this point. This icon, this menu, allows you to scrap your tanks, which I'm not going to do right now, showing you here their current armor and how much money you're going to get for scrapping them. This menu shows you the estimated statistics or score at the given time, taking into consideration what the players have in their possession at the current moment. And here comes another volcano eruption. So at this point I may also want to show you how much money you're going to get for collecting this resource, and maybe show you how to commence an airstrike, but I do not have enough money yet, so I'm just going to continue firing over here.
Target in range.
going back to the big missiles and adjusting the firing angle.
Target in range.
And I may as well buy a guided missile at the base and fire it at the enemy.
All
So I'm
systems
going to
activated.
do the exact same thing as before. Left click on this, or you can just use your joystick in the desired direction, push it in the desired direction and press fire. The missile is fired. I hold down on the joystick to maintain a high altitude and then push up to make the missile dive down on the enemy position.
Security check.
And this is a security check, a copy protection measure. But since this is a cracked version of the game, I'm just going to press enter and skip it. Yes. Once again, I have enough for a guided missile, so I'm going to use that. Just a good tactic to take down enemy hit points frequently and quickly during your turn.
Target in range. Select target. Target in
Realign
range.
the target. And keep firing.
Target in range.
And firing more than one of your units. Firing from more than one of your units over the course of a single turn is a good idea, because then the enemy is unable to repair such large amounts of damage. Now I've been hit again, so I'm going to repair this
Shield
tank.
repaired. Target in range.
And I haven't got any napalm this time. Just going to try this.
Target in range.
I've got a couple here, so I'm going to target the area between the base and the unit, so that the tank gets hit as well, hopefully. And more guided missiles.
All systems active.
Because I do want this new tank out of the picture. Oh, it's still persevering. Surprisingly, is moving towards this resource, but I think it's just because it's in the way of converging on my position. And you may have noticed that very poor shot on the part of this enemy, and this is due to it being an intel type of enemy, which seems to use weaker AI, so you may want to bear that in mind where you prepare a match. So now I'm going to grab this resource.
We got it.
And this has given me around $10,000, as you can see here. So I'm going to now be able to buy something more expensive. I'm going to show you how to use an airstrike in this game. So I'm going to select it.
Select target.
And select my target. I've got a nice cluster of tanks over here.
Target in range.
So I'm going to select that. So you can see how large the covered area is, and I've managed to take out one of the enemies as well. A useful thing, this airstrike, but it's very expensive,
Target in
unfortunately. So I think with this knowledge you should pretty much be able to play this game to its fullest. I may also show you how to dig your tank, and having your tank dig also allows you a chance to gather valuable resources every turn, although it's a small chance. And once you have dug your tank in, you cannot move it on this turn, so you have to bear that in mind. And there was another resource which is now up for grabs, and it's a good idea to grab it, but that's an aspect that has already been covered. So now I'm going to show you how to dig your tank. So you just click here. So another thing to remember is that you cannot make your tank dig for resources within the perimeter of the base. So you have to move it out of the base first, and then you can make it dig.
Target in range.
These two I'm just going to continue firing, and I'm going to continue repairing this tank.
Target in range. Game over, tier 3.
And I've destroyed the base of this player. So now I'm going to move on to the other enemy. So just quickly, this is how you make your tank dig. And now I have a chance of acquiring valuable resources with it. Hopefully. It's only a small chance.
So it's target in range. So it's target in range.
I haven't got any resources this turn, having made my tank dig. As you can see here, it says Okopane. So rather than trying to defeat this player, I'll just try and show you what it looks like when you get valuable resources. And there it was. The tank managed to dig up some gold, and this resource immediately got sold, and it increased the amount of money that I have. And with this, I think I'm going to wrap up this video. Hopefully it will help you play this game. So on that note, enjoy and goodbye.